afternoon and welcome to Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lorianne Casdia. Our goal at Healthy Lifestyle is to inspire, educate, and empower others to fulfilling a healthy, emotional, spiritual, and physical life so that you can feel empowered to live the life you have always wanted and dreamed. Today, I am very happy to say we are joined by Debra Silverman, the best-selling author of The Missing Element. Debra Silverman was about just 20 years old, and she met an astrologer who blew her mind and changed her world forever. She has officially been introduced to the world of astrology. It was then that she realized the stars in her own world had aligned just right, and she had found her life's purpose. Debra went on to deeply study the mind and body, earning a bachelor's degree in psychology and dance from York University and a master's degree in clinical psychology from Monarch University. Debra is quite the astrologist. I follow her avidly, and I am so lucky to have her here with us today. We are all so lucky. Debra, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I just like to dive right into what you do. So try to, if you would, explain to our listeners about astrology, what you do, how you coordinate psychology and astrology together.
How do I do it? Well, first of all, I started off with a fascination with people. Like, I've been that person that loves listening to stories and loves watching people. I could sit in the airport and watch people all day.
Yeah.
And then I began my interest in learning astrology at a very young age, where I was starting to identify patterns. Like, how do people describe their characters if they had words? That's the missing ingredient. I think so many of us live a life where we actively participate in our expression, but we don't have the awareness to say, oh, that's why I do what I do. So that astrology piece of me being so fascinated by people gave me a language that's allowed me to really help and serve and give people information, and most of all, fall in love with these funny personalities that don't seem to go away.
Yes. Embrace the personalities, right?
Yeah, it's so hard to argue. I always say you can't argue with Mother Nature, you can't argue with the mountain, and you can't argue with the stars. There's certain things that are in place, and if we could just get into alignment, this would be a much easier planet to live on. It
would be, and the alignment is, there's 5 planets right now in retrograde?
It's true. Well, now there's 4. Mercury went direct yesterday.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so we're in a little bit of a better spot.
Yeah, it's been very energetic, is what I call it, when Mercury is around. It's amazing what gets thrown in front of you, and I look at it as an opportunity to close doors and solve those challenges.
I know, and I had computer break, and my telephone broke, and my flights were delayed, and all of those were just opportunities for me to say, look, you can't get me getting up. I won't get upset. I just kept breathing and practicing the ultimate goal, which is to be accepting with what is and to find the calm, and that's what I've been doing. Boy, I'm so glad Mercury went direct. I can't even believe how it was worthy of celebration. Oh,
I agree. I totally agree. And you could feel the difference in the pressure on your whole system. It's so funny. I was talking to a friend and I was like, well, geez, I don't know why I feel this way. And then I went, oh, wait, yes, I do. So you just kind of have to swim with it like the good Pisces that I am. I was just kind of flown with it and trying to just not try to control things that I know I can't really control anyway. But
exactly.
You taught me that. And I love the fact of how you embrace people for who they are, the quirks and the specialties, because we are the best us we can be because everybody else is taken. So I love the fact that it kind of gives us a freedom when we say that, right?
It's so true. And there's no such thing as normal. It's just a setting on the dryer. And it's one of the gifts of astrology is your unique personality and your own expression is so it's like holy land. But when it's quirky and it's uncomfortable and we're not feeling ourselves and we feel like we lost our chi or we lost our fire or you don't have to get up and go, that's when you have to go get your chart done and go, where did I go? Somebody help me find me. I left me behind there somewhere.
Yeah, and it does, and the role of astrology in my mind is to help you with that. It's almost like a roadmap. It's I know maps are now on your devices, but it's actually a roadmap to where you should go and what you should focus on. Don't you agree?
Yeah, but it's so funny because astrology is on the computer too now. You can get your chart, it's the same thing with roadmaps. That's very funny. You can get your chart done with a button. Now it's astro.com, ASTRO.com, And then you can also learn online how to interpret the chart. So there's a whole nother modern day language. Like maps are now inside the phone, and so is your chart.
Yeah, well, and yet even with the finding it on your phone, and you're right, you could do your charts online as well. But it's very intricate, and you have a school, and doesn't it start next week, the Applied Astrology School? Yes,
and it's a 6-week class, 1 hour and a half once a week, and you really do learn simple. Like you can be a beginner who's never studied astrology but's always been fascinated, or you can be advanced, because it's a 6-week class. Why it's called Applied Astrology is you learn your own chart. You study a very small bit-sized bits, like little pieces of the chart over 6 periods, 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden you realize, whoa, I just figured out what my shadow is. I just figured out what my life lesson is. I just figured out what the timing is. Like I broke it down in like a 6th grade level.
Wow.
So everybody could get the information, but I applied it at a psychological level, because Carl Jung was quoted to say, psychology will be a dinosaur science until it includes astrology. So he knew, because he was an astrologer, that in order to really do a proper psychological dive into someone's psyche, rather than listening to you tell me what's wrong with you, the chart tells me what's right with you. So it's a complete reframe, and that's what the school is all about. It helps you fall in love with yourself.
Yeah, which is important, because we all come here with everything we need. We keep searching outside of ourselves, and it's all here. We already have it. It's on the shelf within us. It's in our soul and our heart, and yet we're searching beyond. So by going to our astrology charts and looking at it, I have conversations like this with people all the time where I'm like, oh my gosh, you were just so a March Pisces, and they look at me and go, what does that mean? And I was like, oh no, there are certain things that are just so you, and it's so great, and that I know that it helps me actually interact with you better.
It's so funny, because I've had families staying at my house this last week, and one of our family members has Gemini rising. So she can tell a story, her gift of words. So when everything's dull, she'll jump in, and you can't help but listen to her. And I'm always looking at her going, oh my God, you're so Gemini rising.
See?
Her soul came in to talk.
There's a wisdom behind the astrology. There's a wisdom of the elders. Let's talk more about wisdom of the elders, because I think it's really lost in translation, and people don't understand it, that as we get older, we do actually get more wisdom and smarter.
Collect some information, yes. So in my book, The Missing Element, that is one of the biggest promises I made, was I would access the ancient wisdom from astrology. Of course, astrology is the oldest science on Earth, and it has an incredible reservoir of archetypes, and it's talking about psychology and talking about time. It's like the shortcut. It's kind of like the Google of the stars. You go push one button, and up comes all this information. So part of my job is the translation of how do you take all that information and simplify it? And that's really the hardest part about astrology.
Yeah.
How do you make it simple so people can apply it, and then they can feel free? Not with the excuse of, you know what, I can't help myself, I have to be like this, but quite the opposite. Now that I know this about me, I have free will to rearrange some of these things and stop talking all the time if I realize that's what I do, or stop cleaning all the time if I realize, like, becoming self-conscious in the healthiest way.
Yes, it empowers you, and it allows you to move forward. And some of the things that you have the abundance of and not missing actually serves you very well if you're aware of it, and then you could, like you just said, utilize it properly. The thing in The Missing Element that I absolutely positively loved, and I want you to tell our listeners more about your book, The Missing Element. I encourage everyone to get it, read it, brace it, read it again, because every time you read it, you get another thing. My favorite is the explanation of ego and observer. And I tell you, Debra, since I read that 2 years ago, that has served me so well, because I can see and feel now within seconds that I'm in ego or if I'm in observer. When I'm in my observer,
I'm so glad.
Oh, it's remarkable.
And how do you know when you're in your observer? How do you get the clue?
Well, because it doesn't become personal. It's not emotional. When I'm in my ego, it bothers me. I feel a different, like an agitation within myself. When I'm in my observer, I'm looking at it going, okay, Let's just look at it as if I'm watching someone else's life. That's probably the best way to explain it. I'm watching someone else's life and going, well, why are you getting so upset about this? Can you change it? Yes or no? Can you do? And you start asking yourself questions. And by doing that, by being in the observer, you actually end up with the best result that you ultimately get to without the ego portion. You get there faster because you don't have all that emotional type thought process going on, being heard and upset. And not to say that there's to take away from any of that or minimize it. It's just the ego is, you're just much more comfortable in the observer side. And I find myself, I don't argue. I don't rise to the level of getting that upset. So brilliant. So talk more about the missing element. Love the book, The Missing Element. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Debra Silverman, astrology.com. Just get it.
That's so cute. This is the wisdom of the elders, is they knew, and this is what, the 4 agreements was written. I love that 4 agreements.
Yes.
One of them is don't take things personally. But it's almost impossible to do. So what you learn from the book is you have an automatic response pattern. So if you're water, you stop talking and you get withdrawn. If you're air, you start talking and you start talking yourself out in every circle you can think of and in and out of the box. If you're earth, you get super practical. You're like, can we be reasonable? And you try to control it. And if you're fire, you get pissed off. It's just your impulsive control. The patterns of reaction aren't even an option to not react. So you find out what your response is naturally, and then you turn your observer on and you go, oh, look at me, I'm doing that thing again. So you reduce the judgment. This is all about eldership. Like when you think of older people and you see them take a breath and they're not reacting to your button pushing, they're just watching you push their buttons and then they're laughing, then there's this unbelievable, as you described it, that's like, oh my God, I'm so free now. I'm not captured by my reaction, by my personality, by my ego.
Absolutely. You are listening to Healthy Lifestyle on Long Island News Radio 103.9. I'm Lorianne Casdia, and we are speaking to the fabulous Debra Silverman. You can see her online at debrasilvermanastrology.com, and we are talking about the elders and the just the incredibleness of the wisdom that you gain as you get older and how we really need to tap into that. Debra, the advantage of getting older. What's the advantage of getting older?
Oh, it's just the simple patience. Like I am now in my 60s and even though I have a very young body, I love walking slowly. I love listening patiently. I've been spending this week, as I mentioned, with my kids, my family, and I just love being the elder. It doesn't have to be reactive. It doesn't have to be that you're right. It doesn't have to even be that you're heard. When you're young, we have so many needs. The elder just wants to give. So there's no expectations. Like my kids, if they come in and they say, I love you and thank you and give me a hug, I'm like, oh. But if they just walk by me and they're busy and they're doing their thing, I'm still happy. It just takes all that neediness out of the picture. Oh, my God, what freedom.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I just got back from vacation myself and was with my son and his friends, and the same thing. I loved sitting back listening to their conversation. They were exhilarating. Yeah. It was exhilarating. I
know. It's so much fun to be the witness, and that is the essence of my book, The Missing Element. Turn on your observer, turn off your reactor, have some free will. The free will button comes with the observer. And then you have options, like everything's possible.
Yes, and that's the brilliance of the observer, because it's no longer ego. It is, you're asking yourself questions. And by doing that, you learn about yourself faster and you turn inward and see you already have a lot of the tools that you need. You don't have to reach outside. And I'm telling you, I love The Missing Element. In The Missing Element, obviously, tell more about what someone will incur reading it. I can tell it, but it's going to be much better from you.
It's simple. There's a personality test in the page, I think it's 42, where you figure out what is your missing element. It takes 5 minutes to take the test. Then you go and you read the chapter of the missing element, and it's balanced. Like pretend there's 4 wheels in a car, which is what there is, but they're elemental. And one of the wheels goes down and the thing goes off. So the goal of this book is to help you figure out what your missing element is to establish some balance. And then it, like magic, people's lives change. Like, oh, I realize that I'm so low on earth and I don't take care of my clothes, I don't take care of my money, and then you just insert what would appear to be something unnatural to you, but you start to practice it, and the next thing you know, you're actually operating in balance. So let's say you're missing air and you don't like socializing and you don't like being around people, and you can't figure out why you've been single for the last 30 years. But then the missing element for air is ask questions. Go socialize and just be curious instead of pretending you don't like people. And the next thing you know, they're dating and they're getting friends and they're starting to learn how to use their air element. So all four of them require a practice if you're missing it. And then people's lives really do balance. It's kind of trippy.
That is. It really is.
It never stops amazing me.
So the four elements, air, fire, water, earth.
You got it.
There you go. So
can't live without any of them. Can't live without water. Can't live without air. Can't live without food. And can't live without fire, which is the sun, the heat of your heart, the beating of your heart. Any one of those stops, and you're gone. Bye-bye now.
Exactly. And so the missing element, the book, The Missing Element, again, I encourage you to go out and get it. It really helps you find out and discover who you are, what you have, and then what you're missing so that you can kind of balance it out. So I love your visual with the four tires in a car. Yeah, you want all four tires to have the same amount of pressure to them. This way you feel balanced. And I can always feel when one of my tires is a little lower than another tire. So I like to just bring them up to the same, stop at the gas station and refuel, if you will, put more air in those tires. So it's really wonderful. You are listening to Long Island News Radio, Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lorianne Casdia. We're speaking with Debra Silverman, and a really well-renowned astrologist. Now, you're also a dancer, Debra.
That's true.
Yes.
That was my early life. My first half of my life, I was a dancer, and I really value, and still to this day, it's so funny because I just interviewed, I have something called the Star Community. Do you know about the Star Community?
I do know about the Star Community. That's actually associated with your school.
It's independent of the school. It's a platform for $22 a month. You can go on the platform, and every day it tells you where the moon is. It tells you if there's a Mercury retrograde. It tells you where the cycles are. And there's interviews. And so today I just interviewed one of my favorite people, Sean Korn, who is a very famous yogi. And every month I find that person's sign. I interview them, and then I do. So it's a way to learn. If you don't know anything about astrology, and the course, the Applied Astrology is a 6-week, very intensive, stay in the game and really learn it. The Star Community is just a very short, once a month. You go online. You can go online as many times as you want, but there's all this information for that month on that sign. So you learn astrology in a very simple way on the Star Community, as distinct from the course, where you could actually be an astrologer. I train astrologers, people that are looking for a career, and they're coaches or they're counselors or they've always been interested. You can learn in a 2 6-week program that requires level 1 and 2. And people really do become astrologers when they grow up. It's so cool to see, especially older women who have left their career behind and they're wanting to contribute to people.
Sure.
But they don't know how. Come study astrology.
That's a really good accessory, if you will, and it's really good basis for being a good coach is to have astrology, because you really can give good guidance to your clients if that's something that you're pursuing.
Yeah, you're speaking to them on their terms. You're not implying what you think they should do. You're looking at their chart and seeing what they should be doing, which is really unique about astrology.
Yeah, and the best
custom designed.
Exactly, the best coaches too. It's not a one size fits all. It's like marketing that I do, not a one size fits all. You take the marketing principles and you apply them to each client specifically for their industry or product or person, depending on what you're marketing. Same thing with astrology. You can't talk to a Taurus and give them the Pisces properties, if you will. So we will. Although they may have some elements if they're moon and sun and that's where you lose me. The sun rising, the moon rising. So
well, come take the class. You would love this class. You should take it. It only happens twice a year, in February and in September. So if anyone's interested in studying, it's a really fast, easy. And the group is small. You're only with 10 women in a circle or 10 people. There's a mentor who studied your chart with me before the class started. Your chart comes on the screen. It's very cool. Your chart comes on the screen, and you study literally your chart.
That is so cool. And people can enroll in this. It's coming up actually August 21st to September 5th for the next class, right?
The next semester, yeah.
That's exciting. So the August 21st, that's tomorrow. Let us not procrastinate. Yeah. Actually, that was last Tuesday. We pre-record, so that's why it's tomorrow. So thanks, Michael. I saw your face. You were like, yeah, no. Moving on. We are going to take a break. Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lorianne Casdia. We're speaking to Debra Silverman, who will be back. We're just going to take a short break, and we'll return to this exciting conversation. Welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lorianne. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas on topics you'd like to hear more about, please email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. And follow us on social media at Healthy Lifestyle with LA. We are speaking with Debra Silverman today. She is a best-selling author of one of my favorite books, The Missing Element. And Debra Silverman is an astrologist, and she teaches astrology. Actually, her astrology course, or her school Applied Astrology. School enrollment actually is online starting on August 21st, which is a couple days ago, and going through September 5th. You don't want to miss it. There's only openings twice a year, one in September, one in February. And we are back with Debra. Hey, Debra.
Hello.
So we were talking about the ego and observer that you talk about in The Missing Element, and one of my favorite topics in the whole world, and I hear people using it and misusing it, is karma. Let's talk about that.
That's the funniest word. No one really knows what it means.
It's a great word.
From my point of view, it's the one law that what goes out comes back, which we can't really is that a word? Linearly? We can't describe it logically. It's an energetic, but it's the quality of what you're creating now is producing the results that will show up in the future. And I think people underestimate the significance of how much, like this is part of the aging process that I've discovered. I spent so much of my life in discipline around my body and my food and exercising. So now I'm in my 60s and all my friends are like, how come you're not aging? Well, it's just a karmic law that if you take care of your body, it will take care of you. Karma shows up in 1,000,000 different ways, but it's specific to the people in your world that you have long-standing relationships with, your parents, your siblings, the dog. These are people that you have karma with that have recurred or returned or shown up again. And if you want to clean up your karma and produce results for the future where you have a really happy lifetime, you take care of that now. And this is a great thing to do, is make a list of, coming soon to our neighborhood is that wonderful Jewish holiday called Yom Kippur. I think it's in September.
Yep.
It's a cool holiday they have. They stop time for a day. They make a list of all the people in their world they've had a bump with during that year because they lived in small, what were called shtetls, small little villages, and they couldn't afford to have karma hanging out if you were going to go see that person again. So they would go to that person who they had the bump with on this day of Yom Kippur, and they'd say, please forgive me, and the person would say, please forgive me, let's start again. So if we all took the responsibility of Yom Kippur being all the time, I do this all the time. I always ask myself, I'm going to tell you a crazy story. So about a month ago, I was meditating, and I asked the question in the meditation, I don't know why I asked this question, is there anyone in my world that I have an out with that if I died, I would have regrets because I never completed? And up came this man's name, John. I won't use his last name. And I thought, that's fun. I haven't thought of him in 10 years. And when I knew him, I was him and his wife's counselor. And he had heard a CD. I used to record all the sessions on a CD.
Sure.
He was in the car, started the car, and he could hear the session that she and I had when he started the car. And in the session, I was counseling her to, she wanted to end the marriage, and I was helping her. But he made up that I was responsible for their divorce and that if she hadn't been working with me, they wouldn't have gotten divorced. So he hated me. So I'm thinking about this during the meditation. I'm like, what did his name show up for? And later that day on my bike ride, I stopped at Whole Foods, completely random, walked in, didn't even know why I was there. It was ridiculous that I was even in Whole Foods. And I bumped into who? John.
No
and
way.
I walk up to him and I say, yes, I walk up to him and I say, this is going to be a really weird conversation. This morning in my meditation, your name came up, and I realized that I'm unforgiven in your mind's eye, that somehow I never did clear with you. I know you had the impression that I affected your divorce, and I just want to say, please forgive me. I'm so sorry if that ever was misinterpreted, and can I hug you? And then he hugged me.
Oh my goodness. See, I don't believe in coincidences, and that's one of the reasons.
No, I know, and that was given to me in my meditation. But the point of karma is, if you consistently look in your history and see who did you leave behind that you had karma. Now, you don't have to see them and ask for forgiveness. You can do all this just in your consciousness, in your mind. But if there's somebody in your world that you know you could have or should have or you wish you could have, completed with, could even be someone that's not in the body any longer. But if you clean your karma up now, then you're preparing yourself for a future lifetime or a future where you're in a very clean space.
Yes. That goes to Hawaiian.
Yes.
The I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you.
Yes, that's the most beautiful. I'm standing on Hawaiian land as we speak right now.
Oh, lovely. Oh, my goodness. That's beautiful.
And that is such an ancient, beautiful Hawaiian. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Ho'oponopono. Like, how do we, and there's a wonderful musician who's one of my very favorite people named Trevor Hall, who has written some beautiful song about karma. That this is so crazy. On my birthday this year, I was watching him at a concert singing the song called Karma. And then he announced that I was in the audience and pulled me up to the front of the stage and had the whole audience stand up and sing happy birthday to me. And I was so uncomfortable. But that's where karma has become one of my favorite words and favorite songs. So look up Trevor Hall. Do you know about his music?
I do not. I will, because I am a musician. I'm a singer.
You are going to fall in love when you hear his music. Well, you are. This is going to be, and look up for the song Karma.
I will.
Such a beautiful, beautiful. So for all of your listening audience, this is one way to get your life on track, is you just look behind and see, where did I leave parts of me unfinished, so that if I die tomorrow, I would be prepared to set myself up for a future lifetime that didn't have the continuation of those unfinished pieces that haunt us.
Yeah, and it's funny because, and it's most recently I've learned this is, when I was taught, I was brought up Catholic, when I was taught forgiveness was always forgiving someone else. Forgiveness in my mind now is not that at all. Forgiveness is releasing yourself. The other person is going to do and say and be what they are, whether or not you forgive them. It's about releasing yourself and forgiving that and saying, okay, I'm not going to hold on to this and let it go. And karma, I know as a young child, my mom always said, what goes around comes around. That is karma. What goes around comes around. So what you're putting out there, you're going to get back. So put out really good stuff, make good vibes, elevate your vibrations so that you're putting out good things. And then what comes back is good. And you see those people that you go, gosh, they always win. They always get this. They always get what they want. They're just putting good stuff out there.
My best friend's husband, who is a very wealthy man, he always wins in Las Vegas. And I know it's because he's the most generous person. Like, it's a law that he's constantly giving, and then life gives to him.
Yeah. And it really does come back. And it's a giving out of a willingness, not out of an expectation that you're going to get something back. But I'm a firm believer, and I think in speaking to you in the past and watching you over the last few years and reading your book, I think you believe in this too, that we're all here to serve others. And if we spend our time doing that, we walk away from our ego. We're more in the observer. We're in a better place. We feel better. It always feels better to help someone else out, especially when there's no expectation coming back. And we started out the first segment speaking about the no expectation, and then you sit there and with that wisdom, you realize that what you're getting is just so pure, it's beautiful, and you want more of that.
So this is the coolest story. So in my book, there's a chapter called, it's about a man who spent 27 years in San Quentin prison, and we became pen pals. And over a period of 13 years, every Monday morning, I can't even believe I did this, I sent him cards and I wrote him letters, and he would write poems. We were just best friends. And then I went to San Quentin and I saw him over a period of years. And then I was telling the story to one of my wealthy clients who said, go hire the best lawyer you can find in California. We're going to get him out. And we did. And it's been 10 years till next week. It'll be August 28th that he got out of prison. So I flew him and his wife to Hawaii. They're here now.
Oh, no.
And we just had the most spectacular week together of taking them into the ocean and into the pools and taking them up the mountain and just things and places that he's never seen before. Oh, my God, it's been the most wonderful. Talk about
that
karma.
is so lovely. I remember reading that in your book, and I was weeping, thinking how you were able to effectuate such a beautiful change. And there was just no, there was
no expectation. It's what you just said.
No expectation. Yeah, no on anybody's part. And then you do this. You're amazing. You're just amazing. You're just constantly out there, just helping people.
Giving.
I love one of the questions I had asked you was your most embarrassing moment you recall in your life, and I kind of laughed about this. And can I share it? Is it okay?
Yes.
And so I had asked you your most embarrassing moment, and you said you could fill the blank in.
What did I say? I don't remember.
You said, that your mom got on the bus when you were going to camp and introduced you to all the kids.
It was horrible. Yeah, she was such a. Oh my God. She got on the bus and started introducing me to all the kids. You know how when you're so scared, you get on the bus and you're going to camp, and my mom gets on the bus with me and starts saying, "This is Debbie" to everybody. I was like, "Can you get off the bus?"
You're really, Mom, you're killing me. That's a funny story because I tell this story about my son because I have to drop him off at high school. For some reason, he's doing something. And there's 2 levels at the high school. So you park on the upper level, you walk down like 4 stairs, you cross the bus lane, and it wasn't proper to go in that. So I parked at the top, gets out of the car, and he says goodbye. And I was like, all right, have a good day. And he didn't kiss me goodbye. He didn't give me the hug. I was like, what's that about? So he crosses that bus path, and then he goes over to his friends who are waiting in a group across the way. And I know all his friends, they all grew up partially in my house. And I'm like, really? He just left without saying goodbye. So I almost did what your mom did. But I got out of the car and I was like, have a good day, baby. I love you so much. I hollered this across the bus lane to my son across the way. He's dying 1,000 deaths. His friends go, we love you, Mama. See you. Run back across. Come up. Give us a big hug. You see him just slouch. His head drops. He walks across begrudgingly up the 4 stairs, comes over and hugs me. And he goes, please don't do that again. I was like, well, now you know not to leave without saying goodbye and kissing me goodbye. And fast forward years later, he goes on an internship in Australia, and we're in the airport, and I'm saying goodbye because he's staying there for 3 months and I'm coming back to the States. And he starts to walk away. He stops, he turns around, he puts his hands up and he goes, please don't. He comes back, he hugs me, he kisses me, he goes, I love you. And I was like, okay, good. So that was a good learning curve.
That is so funny. It's a little late now, but can you teach my mom that?
What, the learning curve? I no, true not.
Yes, please. That's all she had to do was just get off the bus.
That was so funny. Get off the bus, Mom. I love that. I laughed so hard when I read that.
You send questions to your interviewees. That's so interesting. I've never had that happen before.
Yeah, I do, because I liked to know more about you. I mean, I knew certain things about you because we've interacted, and I've had a reading done by you, which was amazing. I actually have it here, the notes that I took, and I had it done in March 13th, which is my mom's birthday, in 2017, and I thought that was interesting that the date that I picked was my mom's birthday because that was what was available. And it was such a wonderful, wonderful reading, and you really took your time, and I encourage people to do that as well. I had already read the missing element, and you confirmed the element that I thought that I was missing. And so all those things worked really well and definitely helped me on my journey. And this has been a really wonderful journey since I would say the middle of 2015, I started the journey in really, really deeply. And the beginning of this year, I really took a swan dive, as they say, off the roof, figuratively, not literally, and really did a lot of investment in myself. And you've really, with or without your knowledge, have transformed and helped my transformation. And I am so grateful for that. And I really tell everyone who is listening, you really need to reach out to Debra Silverman. Go to her website, read The Missing Element, because it will change your life. I get a little choked up when I speak about it because that differential between the ego and the observer has absolutely changed my life. I wish I knew it when I was in my 20s. I shared the book with my son. I share this experience with my son who's in his 20s, and hope that their learning curve is faster. And Debra, I think you are aligned with me, and watching people's lives change is just heartwarming, and what you do this for, right?
It's my favorite feeling.
Yeah.
Well, one of them.
It's yeah, I hear you. It's really a wonderful thing, and you really embody that. I mean, look at how you reached out to the gentleman who was imprisoned, and you actually helped them out and are with them right now. That's just amazing. So, what else are you doing out there in Hawaii? I'm so excited.
Well, the other thing I'm doing is I'm writing a book. I just got approached by a publishing company. So a book is the hardest. I think that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole life. And now I'm writing another one. But the first book, The Missing Element, has no astrology in it whatsoever. It's just for beginners who want to learn about personality and, just as you described, the soul infusing the ego and how that the observer is the answer. But this book now I'm writing is pure astrology, which is not easy. And so I'm immersed in this unbelievable process that I took a break from this week because my friends are all here. But I will definitely go back to writing soon to our neighborhood.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited to hear that, because that's where, believe it or not, after reading The Missing Element, I walked away going, all right, I need to know more about astrology, because that clearly lends a lot into myself, understanding myself more, so I could be a better me and then serve everyone else better. And I really believe that that's everything that you're doing helps people go in that direction, if they so choose, and at different levels. It's not, you don't have to be an expert at anything to go through all this with you, correct?
No, it's beginners. That's the whole point. I pretend that I am teaching people that have just begun their interest in astrology. And so, yeah, that's all I do. My whole life's work. I mean, even with Kenny, so fun. We were talking astrology last night at dinner. You know, he doesn't know astrology, quote unquote, but we all have a memory somewhere lost in the depths of our psyche. We all knew that there was a time in history when the stars did guide and direct, and it's never left us. It's like the oldest religion, the oldest science on earth. But we just disregarded it because religion came in and said, don't believe in magic. I'm trying to bring magic back.
Yeah, and you do. You bring it back at astrologyanswers.com. Your videos are out there all the time. You're DebraSilverman.com, astrology.com. Sorry, it's DebraSilverman, you need to go on there, because I love your monthly installations, if you will, on the different signs. That's inspiring. The more you learn about the different signs, it's easier to, I find, work with other people, because you understand where they're coming from. They're just coming from a different space.
I know. And then you have language for it, and you have permission slips, and then we all fall in love, and then life gets juicy, and then you live in Hawaii, and you think you died and went to heaven. Are we alive? I keep saying to him. Yeah,
this is good stuff. I mean, how lovely is
problem.
It is, and if that's the worst problem, what a lovely life. But I encourage, as I always do, to just find what makes your heart soar and dive into it and find out who you are, because you are the best you. Everybody else is taken, so you need to be the best you. And I love your just watching you on video. You have so much energy, and you could see the passion you have in sharing and teaching, and you do it at a level where everybody can understand. You don't talk above. There are some that they talk so way above my head. I sit there and go, I know I'm an intelligent woman, but I got nothing of what they said. And you don't do that. And I love that, because you sit there and explain what retrograde is, and what the sun and the moon and the alignment and the trining, and I listen to all these things. So see, I really do, Debra. I'm listening.
Thinking about it?
What'd you say?
Are you seriously thinking about taking the class?
Absolutely.
Because we're going to sell out. I can feel it. We've done a really good job, because it's our third year. And it was started by a dream. Like I've been teaching astrology since I was young, but I couldn't imagine how to get it international. And then we went online. And my goodness, an online school. Who knew that you could reach people all over the world? We have people from all the way from Indonesia to Africa to India. Like, it's crazy who comes and studies with us.
Yeah, no, that's the exciting thing. And this is the good thing about social media platforms. This is the good thing about the internet. You know, everything can be used for good and for bad. I focus on the good, and this is really one of those good things. And yes. Signing up it's open right now. You can sign up right now. Go to the website, sign on, join this, learn it. It's for you. And as I say at the end of every show, do a little bit something for yourself. Maybe this is that little bit of something for yourself. To do that, have this learning. Debra's going to make it easy for you, for us to learn this and get better at it and learn more about ourselves, so we can be the best us we can be, and then serve the other people who are around us. And that's what I really believe that we're here to do. Debra, I can't thank you enough for stopping your time and joining us here to speak on healthy lifestyle. And I hope I can have you back in the future. We can talk more about your new book coming up. Of course, I'm going to continue to gush about the missing element. I really encourage listeners, get the book. You can download it on Kindle. I had it on Kindle. I had a written copy. I shared that copy with a friend of mine and, paying it forward. I encourage everybody to do that. Debra, thank you for joining us today.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle. My heart is lifted by sharing this time with you. I want to thank my guest, Debra Silverman. Again, I encourage you to get a copy of The Missing Element, sign up for the course at her school. And I remind you, as always, remember to do a little something for yourself every day. It starts there. It doesn't have to be big, but definitely take a moment and do something for yourself. Create a new habit, create a new balance. Thank you again for joining us on Healthy Lifestyle. Until next time, show up for you, show up big.